What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of AP Psych podcast. And I'm Thomas Park, and
I'm Jaden Wu, and today we're gonna be featuring Touch, Taste, and Smell.
right, so let's hop right into one of my favorite senses, touch. So without touch, you basically won't be able to feel anything. And what touch is it allows us to feel pressure, the pain, and the temperatures. So it's like whenever you're holding like a hot mug of like coffee, let's say, you feel like the pain and temperature. And so how you actually perceive it is through neurons and through nociceptors. So how neurons kick in is you have the millions of neuron cells linked throughout your entire body through the peripheral nervous system. And those peripheral nervous system neurons are going to send impulses, neural impulses, through that system into your brain. And inside the brain, that's where it actually like translates into pressure, pain, temperature, and chemical changes. And what nociceptors do is it does the exact same thing, but it translates it into something that's damaging for the body. So it feels like maybe too much pressure or maybe too much pain, too much temperature, or like harmful chemical changes. And all this is managed through gate control, which is it's a theory which basically states that small fibers are constantly sending pain signals to the brain, while large fibers block said signals until stimulated. So basically, it's where you're constantly getting like small, tiny bits of feedback, but there's going to be a large main, like let's say a control system that stops those signals until it's actually needed. And once it's actually needed, that's when you feel the pain, because the large fibers are going to allow that sense of pain back to, let's say, the nervous system of the brain. So you actually feel it. And to be honest with you, I think that's like the last thing I want. Like, I'm not, like, Jaden, don't you think like there's sometimes you don't want to feel pain, but you do want to feel pain?
You know what? I'd like to agree with you. However, sometimes I like when I get bruises, I start rubbing them. I don't know. I'm not a masochist.
Okay.
However, I don't know, like massaging the bruise just feels nice. Even though I've talked to other people about it. They said it hurts real bad, but maybe it's a personal preference.
What? A personal preference, okay.
Yeah.
And so that can also be linked to something called the phantom limb. And that's maybe why some people don't like rubbing your bruises on like somebody. Because what phantom limbs is, you can actually feel the anticipated pain. So it's like, like whenever you watch someone like let's say like jump off a really tall building and do like all this cool parkour stuff, you actually like feel the pain in your legs. That's phantom limb because you anticipate the pain because you can already like see what kind of pain it's going to go through.
You know what? That reminds me of something else. Like, you know how amputees, or like people that have their arms like severed due to medical reasons. You know, it actually phantom limbs also apply to them as well. Because when they get their arms cut off, sometimes they will say to like nurses or doctors that like they can still feel the pain or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
true. Okay.
It's my 50 cents.
Okay. And so, why don't you hop us into like some ways that we can manage those type of
Oh,
pains?
for sure. Pain management is actually, I think it's something that a lot of our modern society likes to specialize in because no one likes pain.
Yeah. Like,
And while they like rip out your tooth with like a string, so, you know, stuff like that, because we don't usually, because we're less likely to focus on the pain. And then we also have chemical influences. This one is something that the medical field likes to specialize in. It usually comes in the form of like a pill or a drug, like Tylenol. It'll help when girls are on their periods. They'll usually take one to reduce the pain. You know, there's a lot of chemical influences that are more available to us, and there's also a very special kind called genetic mutations. And it's it's hard to describe because it varies from each person and each different type of genetic variation, but it is also I guess the easiest, most broad way to put it is that people vary in pain tolerances, which is why people are able to get their
withstand like cold water and stuff.
Right, stuff like that.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, some social factors actually come into play as well when it comes to pain. For example, some people are more likely to experience a pain if other people around them do, because it makes them feel more like supported to feel that pain, and they feel that they're gonna get like, some kind of validation from feeling that pain as well. Like, oh, you're so right.
Okay.
Let's see. I think for the most part, pain and touch is mostly just like the way you think and behave. So I think most research likes to point fingers at the fact that like it's more so of a superstition. However, people holding warm drinks are more likely to be more friendly and warm, and on the other side, there's people that hold cold drinks are more likely to be reserved and cold. I don't know how true that is, but I'm assuming that there's some kind of research behind it. It's been categorized into this one type of I guess term, embodied cognition, which is the way that touch or like any type of result of the touch can change our cognitive preferences or judgments, right? Like it can affect our mood if we like
really think about it or something.
Yeah, I mean something like that.
Okay.
I think one of those that I would like you to segue into is actually taste, something we experience very often.
Yeah, one of the things that we can't really live without. So, like our breakfast, lunch, and dinner snacks, can't forget those.
Exactly.
So there's 5 types of taste: salty, sweet, bitter, sour, and umami. Ooh. And so how we taste actual things is through our taste buds on our tongue. And those little, and if you, like, let's say you stick out your tongue in front of the mirror, just follow through this podcast with us and stuff.
Yeah.
That little tiny bump that you're going to see on your tongue, it holds 200 taste buds.
What?
200.
Honestly,
And so, and the even more crazy thing about this is each of those taste buds has 50 to 100 chemical taste receptors. So you're talking about almost 10,000 different types of taste that a human can actually feel. It's like you can feel a little bit of salty, a little bit saltier. It's crazy if you think about it. And one of the biggest driving factors of taste is texture and smell. And so, and a big thing that influences this is psychological influences. So, with the Korean food 된장찌개, the fermented bean soup, it's turns out a lot of Americans don't like that smell. I'm not trying to point fingers or anything. I think that's psychological because we grew up with that smell. It's that actually tastes really good. And other people didn't really grow up with it that much, so that might be a huge psychological influence.
Right.
And yeah, that's a huge role into it. And another huge role into taste, like I mentioned, is smell or olfaction.
Let's see.
Which,
you know what? I'll take this one. Olfaction.
All right.
I'm not the greatest at talking about my own preferences with smell because most of the time my nose is usually clogged. However, I am able to get nitty.
Explain it.
Into the scientific. So actually, we call it olfaction because smell is actually this process where it derives from this little receptor cell in our nose called the olfactory membrane at the top of our nasal cavity, or the top of our nose bone, for simpler terms. And the naval cavity exists because only odorant receptors can be activated by specifically shaped molecules in the air. So you don't it doesn't react to just pure nitrogen or other chemicals in the air. It's usually by a specific compound that your nose is able to receive to smell things.
Okay.
And these receptors send this a lot of neural signals to the brain to identify these types of smells, which is comes through the form of a mediator called the olfactory bulb. The olfactory cortex is something in our brain that receives this information and perceives it as smell, and Did you know that human beings are able to experience roughly 10,000 different odors a day? Or just in general, I
Oh,
guess. And
okay.
there's actually a bit of science behind it, a bit of psychology that can influence someone's ability to smell different types of things.
Hmm.
Like for example, the scent wintergreen is often enjoyed in the U.S. Because it's mostly associated with like something similar to the smell of candy. But in the UK, they make their candy a bit different because it's more like crispy, a little bit more bready. So they
Oh.
usually dislike it because the closest thing they can smell to like the smell of wintergreen is like medicine, like cough syrup or something like that.
Hmm. Okay,
Um,
I didn't know that.
yeah. I'm gonna show up
Weird.
a picture of the olfactory system. So
Hmm.
this is your nasal cavity. It's a bit layered, and as you can see, it has its own tract for where the smell develops through the nose. And somewhere inside of the brain, there is your olfactory cortex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Also,
Thomas.
that's like where it
Mhm.
like translates all those like chemicals into actual smell.
Exactly. The yellow stuff in
Oh,
your
okay.
olfactory tract, that is your smell, I guess. I don't know why it's yellow, but we'll take it. Would you
Okay.
like to finish up this podcast episode, Thomas?
Oh yeah. And so as total we talked about three type of senses. So there's gonna be a total of five, but there's the last sense, like a mystery sense, kinesthesia. And what people don't realize is just our ability to perceive our sense of position based on our body and where it is. That's a huge sense. It's like a sense that we didn't realize we had. And this, well, in scientific terms, it's called the vestibular sense, which monitors head position and movement. And so we're going to get a little bit more into detail about this in vision because we're going to talk about like the ear and stuff.
Right.
And just give us like a basic overview of it. There's something called the semicircular canals and the vestibular sacs. And so inside each one of these, it has like some kind of fluid, like water-like, and it moves as you rotate your head. And as these move, there's going to be like tiny like hair-like things inside it that picks up these certain things and it sends neurons into your brain and it tells you like where your head is. So let's say you're underwater and you like turn upside down for some reason. So like all the fluid's going to be like upside down. And so it's going to send chemicals to your brain saying that you're upside down. But if you close your eyes, unless you do another flip, your brain won't actually know if you're upside down or not. Because you also need vision to work with kinesthesia, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's relating all to one another. And so basically, I think that wraps up this episode of touch, taste, and smell and kinesthesia. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we can catch you guys on the next episode.
Yep. Thank
And
you for watching. We'll catch you in the
you
next
guys,
episode where we're trying to wrap it up. Thank you. Have a nice day.
thank you.
Or good morning, good afternoon, good evening.